Hello, everyone at San Diego Design Week 2022. Thank you for joining me. My name is Danne Woo. Today I'm going to be talking about using design and technology for social activism. So I'm going to show you some projects I worked on that are related to this topic. But first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about myself, what I do, my background, my areas of expertise, and my interests, and why I'm talking about this. So I am a graphic designer. I'm a user experience and user interface designer as well. I'm also a product designer, a game designer. I like doing woodworking as well, and I'm a very amateur musician, but I really enjoy building, making my own instruments, and then also playing them just for fun. I am also a programmer, engineer, a hacker, a maker, an entrepreneur, and an activist. So someone with all these interests or skill sets, I like to give myself the title design technologist or creative technologist. So that's what I like to call myself. Someone who uses both design skill and creative thought with emerging technologies and engineering and programming. So someone who basically uses both sides of their brain. So how did I get to where I am today? So I was born in San Diego, born and raised in San Diego to the son of two design parents. My mother was the head of the design department at San Diego State for many years. She recently retired a couple years ago. And my dad, my father, had his own design agency in San Diego for about 40 years as well, and recently retired from that too. So San Diego and design is very much a part of who I am and very much in my blood. Because of that, both my parents were on the board of AIGA San Diego, American Institute for Graphic Arts, when I was growing up. And because they were on the board and attending all these events themselves, I was actually one of the youngest members of AIGA San Diego. I believe I was like 8 or 9 at the time when I was inducted into the chapter. So I got to go to all these design lectures and conferences growing up, which was very interesting for me, and I loved meeting all these designers and seeing all of the work that they do as a child. So it was very cool. So because of that, because of my early experience and in design, I actually got my first paying job when I was 10 years old, designing a typeface for a software application called Splash Media, which later became Flash Media, Macromedia Flash, and now is Adobe Animate. So the company wanted to hire a kid to design a kid's typeface. I'm not sure how they got around the child labor laws, but they did. And I designed this typeface, which was like A for apple, B for banana, C for cat. I think I got paid like $50 for it at the time, which was a lot of money for a 10-year-old. So yeah, that was my first paying design job as a kid, designing a typeface for Splash Media. It just gets even more and more ridiculous. I'm named after a graphic designer. Richard Danne is my namesake. He's a family friend. He came to San Diego to give a lecture for AIGA one year, I believe, and my parents really liked his name and decided to give it to me. So Richard Danne, he's best known for being half of Danne and Blackburn, which is a big design agency in New York in the like 80s, early 80s, and his claim to fame is designing the NASA logo. Not the current one that they're using, but the worm NASA logo that you see on like all the streetwear on like hoodies and t-shirts these days. So very honored to be named after him. So because I was born into this industry and exposed to design at an early age, I ended up going to school at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, and studying graphic design and getting a BFA there in design. So after graduating, I worked for about 10 years doing B2B, corporate advertising, and marketing and branding in New York City. Kind of got sick of doing the corporate grind and designing stuff for corporations that I maybe didn't agree with or like. So ultimately, after about 10 years, I thought it was about time to go back to school and get a master's degree. So I went back to school, studied at NYU, a program called ITP. Stands for Interactive Telecommunications Program. And it's part of Tisch, which is the art school at NYU. So it's very creative and artistic. But they also taught us about electrical engineering and programming, sustainable energy, biology, all sorts of different things and emerging technologies, and allowed us to and encouraged us to combine our creative thought with these emerging technologies. So that's really allowed me to combine two of my interests in design and technology, and work on projects that allowed me to do both, which was pretty great. And for the past decade, I've been teaching at Queens College as an assistant professor in interaction design in the design BFA program there. And all of my classes kind of take this interest and passion in design and creative thought with programming and technology, and kind of merges them together. So I teach classes around creative coding, data visualization, physical computing, website design, interaction design. So it allows me to take my passions and my interests and expose them to up-and-coming designers as well. So I like to show this picture of me when I was maybe 8 or 9. This was at the Aspen Design Conference in the late 80s, early 90s. And this conference was meant for adults and kids. But one of the great things that I like about this picture is that I can point to it as one of the reasons why I kind of got into interested in design and technology. So this was a workshop that I did when I was there as a child, where I built Lego robots and Lego cars, and then programmed them with the Logo programming language to make them move and interact with certain things. This was put on by the MIT Media Lab, and I can remember it vividly. I loved this workshop. And it's kind of basically what I'm doing today. It's playing around with creative ways of building things and making things, and then also incorporating new technologies and programming language and engineering into them as well. So it's very much all focused on like STEAM ideas and projects. I'm also wearing the Child's Primary School t-shirt, which was the elementary school in Claremont that I went to. So another San Diego connection. So here are just some of the projects that I've worked on in general over the last couple of years. I've done a lot of projects around game design and musical innovation, data and data visualization, augmented reality, playing around with like APIs and live data feeds, typography, kind of mixed with evolutionary design and genetics. Growing up in San Diego, I was very obsessed with skateboarding and surfing. I've done a number of projects on how to innovate skateboarding and use, for example, the bottom left image is a skateboard that uses the kinetic energy of the spinning wheel to light up undercarriage lights on the skateboard itself. So yeah, these are just some projects that I've done in the past, not necessarily related to social activism or social good, but I just wanted to show you some of the projects that I've worked on in the past that I'm proud of. So more related to this topic, here are some projects that I've worked on that are related to social activism and social good. So when Trump was initially elected, or maybe when he was running for his presidency, I am not a huge Trump fan. If you are, that's fine. I certainly am not. So I did a number of projects around Trump. This one was a Chrome extension that I made that basically, when it was installed on your Chrome browser, it would not let you go to any websites that of organizations or individuals that supported Trump in any way financially. So if they contributed to their to Trump's campaign, then they're going to be on this spreadsheet that was called the Grab My Wallet campaign. So I used their data and I applied it to this plugin, and basically blocks you from going to any of their websites, spending money on, in this case, Yingling, and giving you suggestions on better places to spend your money. So yeah, this was one project that I did. I was interested in exploring Chrome extensions, found this data, and thought this would be a good opportunity to play around with it. I've also been exploring, playing around with the Twitter API, so getting live data feeds from Twitter. This particular project is called Make Tweets Trump Again, and it was basically a Twitter notification website. Whenever Trump tweeted, it would notify you that he tweeted. So, I mean, obviously it doesn't work anymore since he doesn't have access to Twitter. But basically how it works is if you leave this running on your machine, when Trump tweets, it'll show you the tweet, the timestamp of when he tweeted it, but also when he tweets the tweet itself, it's going to play a random YouTube video of screaming animals in the background. So if you hear any screaming animals coming from your computer, you know that Trump tweeted something. So I also mentioned that I am an entrepreneur. So I've founded and co-founded a number of companies in the past. This is the one that I've been focused on for the last about a decade now. It's called Data Visual, and it's a data visualization design platform. So it's basically like Adobe Illustrator meets Excel, with more of a focus on designers, giving them the full ability to customize the look and feel, the style of the charts, graphs, and maps that they want to export. So I decided to take on a project in 2017 where I watched the news, read the news every morning, every single day for the entire year, found a topic that was of interest for that particular day, researched that topic, found data around that topic, and designed a data-driven graphic and published it on my social media accounts. So you can follow along. I add to it here and there still. I'm not doing it daily anymore. But you can follow on Instagram at Data Visualize, Twitter at Data Visual Info, and Tumblr at Data Visual Charts if you want to see what I produced over that year. So I'll drill down in some of the charts that I created for that project. So I actually started with my own personal data. I'm a bit obsessed with collecting data on myself. I have an Apple Watch and all the devices that you could think of when it comes to quantified self and data collection. So I started visualizing data sets around that data. So this is my daily heart rate, my average daily heart rate for 2016, every single day. That big spike is the day I got married. I'm not sure why. I wasn't nervous. It was great, but that's the same day. Maybe I went on a run beforehand. I don't know. But that's that big spike. But I pretty quickly realized that this personal data is really not really relevant to anyone else, so there wasn't a huge interest in it. And at the time, there was a lot of news stories going around that were related to misinformation, fake news, just bad data. So that's why I decided to kind of pivot a little bit and find a topic relevant for that specific day, research it, find data on it, and try and visualize it in a way that makes it a lot easier for people to understand the numbers behind the stories. So 2017 was filled with lots of really interesting and somewhat terrifying instances. So there were lots of homicides and gun deaths in the United States, which sadly is not uncommon. So I visualized that data. There were like floods and fires and earthquakes. So I looked at natural disasters. The Affordable Care Act was being debated on Capitol Hill, so I looked at the data behind that and visualized it by congressional districts. That was the year of the International Women's Strike, so I looked at where all the marches happened around the world. DACA was a huge thing that year, so I looked at illegal immigration and deportations. And then also there were some fun things too. So I looked at like the Grammys and the Oscars and who has EGOTs, Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, and Tonys. So I visualized that data as well. Obviously, Trump was a huge topic in 2017, so I did a lot of visualizations around him. All of these were actually analysis of his Twitter account, which was very active at the time. So I looked at how many times Trump tweeted about different media outlets. I looked at there was a Twitter account that tracked how many people said they regretted voting for Trump. It's called Trump Regrets. So I looked at that data and looked at it by state. I looked at when he was tweeting. So he used to tweet a lot at like 1, 2 in the morning. I also looked at an analysis of the words that he used mostly. The top ones were like great, R, we, I. And then I also looked at how many tweets were liked. So how many likes he had for each individual tweet. I thought that was another way of looking at like his approval ratings while he was in office for the first, I think, 100 days. And then there were some other topics that popped up. Bitcoin was a huge topic around that time. Social activism in sports was a huge topic. Telecommunication and lobbying, voter fraud, the military, ransomware attacks. So these are just some topics and visualizations that I created as well. So the last thing that I want to talk about is in 2018, I was very excited to be accepted as a creative technologist fellow to be able to work with an organization called Color of Change. Color of Change is a social justice organization focused on improving the lives of Black people in America. So I was embedded in their offices for an entire year and was able to work on lots of projects around all of their initiatives. And these are the initiatives that they mainly focus on. So criminal justice, culture change and media justice, voting freedom and democracy, tech justice, right-wing politics and white nationalism, and economic justice. So I worked on a lot of projects over that period of time. Most of them were like microsites that I built for these initiatives around topics that were happening in our world that were related to those initiatives. I did a lot of data analysis for them, data migration, data collection, and also helped them out with their online presence and their email campaigns. So I kind of wore many hats when I was a fellow at Color of Change. The fellowship ended at the end of 2018, but I've been working with the organization ever since as a part-time consultant. So I'm still working on lots of these microsites and campaigns and digital assets. I'm doing design-related stuff. Programming, front-end development, data cleaning, data analysis, data migration, web admin stuff. So I'm very excited and pleased to be working with them on all these amazing topics and initiatives. So yeah, these are just some of the projects that I worked on and have been working on with them over the last few years. So lastly, like I said, I am a full-time faculty member at Queens College in the Design BFA program. And I bring all of my interests in design and technology into the class and into the types of classes that I teach. I also bring in my passion for social justice, social activism, and social good. So all of my classes, I encourage all of my students to find a topic or an organization that they are passionate about and do projects based off of those topics. So these are just some examples that come out of my data visualization course. So the midterm is design a poster based off of a topic of your choosing. The one on the left is focused on DACA, looking at who is benefiting from this program and how it could be harmful if it was taken away. Another student was looking at gun control in the United States, and another student was looking at violence against women across our globe. So all very interesting topics. These are just some examples of all the projects that have come out of these classes. But very excited to be passing this on to the next generation, bringing these topics into the classroom and getting these students excited about both design, technology, data, and social activism. So that's basically all I have for today. That's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. My Twitter, Instagram, everything handle is just at Danne Woo. You can email me at danny.woo@qc.cuny.edu as well. But yeah, enjoy the San Diego Design Week. It's a great week, and I'm excited to see what other talks are out there. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. So take care. Thanks.